For the best experience, put on headphones and write a comment where you are from and what time you are watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. 1 month ago, on a rain-soaked street, my mother and I decided to grab a meal. The evening felt ordinary until it took a turn. As we made our way back, my feet slipped, and in a blink, everything changed. A car zoomed past, and before I realized what was happening, I found myself lifting my head, staring up at the stark sheets of a hospital bed. My body felt strange, heavy. I couldn't move my legs or my right arm. My left arm was fine, but that small relief did little to ease the uncertainty. When my mother entered, her face wore a worried expression. She gently told me, "Honey, I'm afraid you might never walk again." Instead of sadness, I felt an unsettling calm wash over me. Oh well, I thought. I guess that's it. My life is over before it's even started. The thought lingered, numbing me to the gravity of my situation. The next day, my mom came in with a bright smile, offering a glimmer of hope. She said that if I was lucky, I wouldn't be stuck there for long. If feeling returned to my legs, I could come home and reclaim my life. A spark of optimism flickered in me. Perhaps this month wouldn't be so terrible after all. As days turned into weeks, I adjusted to my new routine. I'll spare you the details of how I managed simple tasks, but let's just say I became quite familiar with the nurses. It wasn't too bad. At least I wasn't facing a grim fate. A reporter visited, likely expecting a more dramatic tale. My condition was undeniable. A 14-year-old kid with limited mobility. One of the nurses was exceptional, kind, pretty, and patient. She helped me navigate my fears and frustrations. She even brought me a book about shipwrecked sailors who resorted to desperate measures. I discovered that human flesh was surprisingly similar to pork, and the captain in the story didn't end well. While I appreciated her support, I couldn't shake the odd feeling that someone was watching me. I brushed it aside, focusing on a clock that seemed to crawl by. My legs were covered with a sheet, and tubes were connected to me, keeping me tethered to the bed. I longed to see my legs, to remember what they looked like, what they could do. As the month wore on, I was supposed to go home soon, but I often found myself alone. The cheerful nurse who tended to me regularly had disappeared, replaced by a different figure. This new nurse, who went by the name Chef, had a round face and a dirty apron that looked as if it had seen better days. He prepared my meals, always grilling everything, from meat to vegetables. I even suspected he grilled my cornflakes once. It was bizarre, to say the least. Sometimes, while I ate his questionable creations, I caught him watching me from the corner of the room. His expression was unsettling, a grin that didn't quite sit right with me. When he noticed my gaze, he would bolt out of the room, but the smile lingered, etched in my mind. I asked my mother about this peculiar character, and she reassured me. He's both a nurse and a cook, she explained. He's quite skilled in the kitchen. People call him Chef. He might look a bit intimidating, but he means no harm. Despite her words, I couldn't shake the sense of dread creeping in. Night after night, I was plagued by nightmares, visions of Chef with that unsettling grin. He loomed over my mother, eyes fixed on her, in a way that made my skin crawl. Every time I thought of him, the sense of horror grew. My mother visited every day at noon without fail. She treated punctuality like an unbreakable rule. But one day, she was late. I felt my heart race. She would never let this happen. As I sat there, Chef entered, his presence somehow more oppressive than before. He served me a plate of food that looked suspiciously unappetizing. I glanced down, noticing his bare feet, which only added to my discomfort. As I took a bite, I realized the taste was off. It was unmistakably not what I expected, a realization that twisted my stomach. I tossed the plate aside and retched, panic flooding my mind. Was I consuming something from my own family? Had she truly died? I yelled, my voice echoing off the stereo walls. Chef stared at me with an unsettling calm, his face devoid of emotion. I attempted to lash out, but my body betrayed me. I could hardly move. Just then, my mother burst into the room, her presence grounding me. "What's all this shouting?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Seeing her there, alive and well, brought a wave of relief that washed over me. I realized I had overreacted. The stress of being confined to the bed had distorted my perceptions. Everything was all right, and I had nothing to fear. As my mother settled in, I shared my earlier outburst, trying to explain my bizarre fear of